In this lesson, we will learn about creating and exporting animation sequences. First, we ensure that we are in the animation workspace and have loaded a suitable avatar in the 3D window. We'll be using Olivia in this lesson. Next, we go to the animation selector to preview and select the woman catwalk walk forward animation sequence. We click the play button. Before addressing the avatar, let's review the animation settings in the context view. Now let's set the playback, camera, and simulation settings in the animation tab. The playback settings are frame rate, playback speed, and preview. Frame rate is the first playback setting option. Here we set the animation speed in frames per second. For Olivia, the default speed is 30 frames per second. We click on the drop-down menu to display the available options. The higher the FPS, the smoother the animation and the shorter the duration of the exported video file. For example, an 80-second video at 30 FPS will become a 40-second video at 60 FPS. We can see the difference between setting the frame rate at 8 FPS and setting it at 90 FPS. Playback speed is the next playback setting option. We select an option in the drop-down menu to set the animation playback speed in the 3D window. Note, playback speed only affects the speed of the animation in the 3D window, not the speed of the animation in the exported video. We can select a playback speed greater than 1 for a fast-forward effect. Preview is the playback setting option that lets us see how the animation will look. Real-time is the default setting that maintains real-time speed by skipping frames if necessary. If we select the frame-by-frame playback setting, no frames are skipped, but the transition is not as smooth, and the speed may differ from the selected FPS speed, depending on the computer performance. The camera settings are Follow Avatar, Motion, Orientation, and Field of View. The Follow Avatar camera setting ensures that the camera follows an avatar's movement, especially if the avatar moves away from the center of the screen, as in this animation sequence. Here's a tip. You can drag the cursor to the start of the frame before clicking Follow Avatar to ensure the avatar is centered. The motion camera setting determines how the camera moves. For example, top to bottom selection is great for showing garment details. The orientation camera setting determines the camera location. An angle is only enabled if we select a motion other than the default motion. For example, we can record at an angle of 45 degrees or from the back of the avatar. The field of view camera setting determines how close we view the avatar. The default field of view is 28 degrees. A lower number results in a closer view, while a larger number results in a view that is farther away. The simulation settings are Resimulate and Inertia. We select Resimulate to simulate part of the clip again. We select Inertia, enabled by default, for a more realistic animation. Now let's dress the avatar and record the animation. To dress the avatar, we click Prepare and Dress, so the garment simulates the first pose of the animation sequence. We can make 3D styling changes before the animation begins. For example, we can pinch certain parts of the garment to adjust how it fits on the body, or we can adjust a pattern piece's grid size. To add accessories, like shoes, to the avatar, we go to the closet section and double-click on the shoes we want. We can also right-click on the shoes to change how they fit the avatar. We will discuss fitting shoes in more detail in another lesson. Once the garment is dressed, we can see a clip, saved under the Clips tab. The play button on the timeline now displays as a record button. Let's record the animation by clicking the record button. Recording may take time when the garment is simulated on the avatar, as it changes poses from frame to frame. During garment simulation, we can pause the recording to make changes by applying 3D styling to any part of the garment. However, if we make drastic changes to the drape, the animation output will not be seamless. To pause the recording and see a recorded portion of the clip, we drag the cursor to the portion of the timeline we want to watch and click play. The Record button displays only when part of the animation sequence has not been recorded. If we place the cursor over a recorded portion, the Record button changes back to Play. The recorded clip looks great so far, so we can continue recording the entire animation sequence. After recording the clip, let's rename it to Runway Walk Forward. To clone or delete a clip, we click the hamburger icon on the Clips tab. To view clip details, we hover our cursor over the clip. We can generate more than one clip, for example, to record another animation sequence or another clip with a different frame rate or camera view. We can export our animation as a render or 3D output. Before exporting, we ensure that we select the clip we would like to export and set the animation settings as we need. In the Export pane of the context view, we can render the animation by selecting one of the following animation export options, with or without the avatar: an MP4, an animated GIF, or an image sequence. The output size is displayed below the media output options. Next, we select a normal or ray trace render. Then we select the render quality and click Render. This is an example of an MP4 outcome with a ray trace render. We can export the animation as a 3D object to external 3D software. To do so, we select one of the following formats: FBX with animation, OBJ with animation, or ABC Alembic. We also select geometry settings such as thickness, texture, and size. Here's an example of an FBX format exported to Blender. And that is how we create an export animation. For more information, visit our Help Center at support.browseware.com.